When I'm planning out my podcast, I don't typically plan months at a time. I like to wait until I see what topics and questions are arising in my meetings with couples, and then address the most common topics with a podcast. One of the things I've been getting a lot of questions about recently are custom suits for men. On today's episode, I'll be chatting with Matt Guarnieri from Mac & Clay, a Lexington-based men's store. You're listening to The Wedding Whisperer with Sarah Burton of Simply Love Studio in Lexington, Kentucky. Matt, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Although you're a little new to the custom world, you are not new to men's attire at all.
That's right. My whole professional career has been around men's clothing, specifically geared with weddings and proms and special events. My background is Geno's formal affair. Grew up in that business. Geno's my father. That's really all I've ever done. So I've kind of learned outfitting grooms and wedding parties and, specifically tailored for this, kind of from the beginning. So this transition into this world of, grooms and wedding parties wanting to do custom has been pretty smooth for me.
It's funny, one of the questions that I get a lot of times from couples is Geno a real person? So it's one of the things I always try to tell people is, I was like, yes, Geno is a real person that lives here in Lexington, Kentucky. You talked about growing up with Geno's. How long have you actually been with the company at Geno's?
2003, I graduated college. I was in Indianapolis and moved back home, and that's when I officially started work. So that has been over 20 years. Before that, I worked in the stores and worked in our warehouse, cleaning shoes, learning how to sew, bagging, tuxedo rentals, and things like that. So that's been a long time.
So you kind of worked your way up to the custom part now. I feel like that was just kind of the next step. When did you open Mac & Clay here on Southland Drive?
So Mac & Clay opened in actually the middle of the pandemic. It was officially August of 2020. I'd kind of put a lot of thought into it. We kind of started the process in probably 2019 and spent a lot of time doing research and visiting shows and getting an idea of the concept before we actually opened. So the funny part of it is we had literally gutted the space in February of 2020. It was blank in March 2020. We all know what happened. So that just kind of become part of my story.
We will go back and forth a little bit between Geno's and Mac & Clay, but for those listening, share a little bit of the precise difference between the two brands.
Yeah, I think that Geno's is really geared for tuxedo and suit rentals. We have at Geno's just an amazing operation. If everybody could see what goes behind that, it's a 30,000 square foot facility stocked with coats, pants, shirts, vests, ties, shoes, a team of staff that's been there, a lot of them north of 20 years. Everything's altered there. Bag, there's quality control. It's really an amazing operation, but it's really geared for rentals. And kind of what I started to see for a long time was a lot of guys for their weddings and were deciding, this was before probably even custom, they just were like, we want to buy. We don't want to rent necessarily, or at least maybe the grooms. Like, I just want to buy mine. I want it to be tailored a specific way, and rentals aren't made for that. We try to pick them to fit the best we possibly can, and I think we do a really good job with that at Geno's, but you can't tailor a pant down to your ankles the way people want, or take in the waist of a jacket with the rental. And what I started to struggle with and what I was realizing was the brand Geno's was really great when I think consumers were thinking rental, but when they were thinking we want to buy, although Geno's was offering suits that you could buy and products that you could buy, I think I found resistance, and I found it hard to break through that brand. And that's where the vision of Mac & Clay came.
So most likely a guy is getting his first custom suit when he is getting married and has no idea what the process is for that. Will you walk me through the process of getting something custom?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's typically best an appointment because it's usually there's a specialized person. Right now it's me, but there's some other people on the team that can help. We'll start with what's the vision? What color palette are we looking at? Because most of the time they might send me here's the picture I see on Pinterest. This is what we're looking for. So that's the start. So we pull fabric books out and we look through different fabrics. We talk about the vibe of the wedding and we can explain, this is what weight of the fabric is. And that's really it. And then we just start building from there. The measuring process is very much more specific. We're taking over 20 measurements of a guy and then we go through picking the styles of the suit or the tuxedo. Do we what lapel style do we want? What buttons do we want? What lining do we want? What embroidery on the inside do we want? Do we want a special message, in different places on the jacket, something like that?
For the average groom, what pieces does he get as part of the suit?
It's typically a coat and a pant. And then some people like the 3-piece, so we're also do shirts. I think mostly when a groom comes in to do it, we're going to take care of the coat, the pant, and the shirt. That's kind of the starting point, or if they want a vest. And then once it's usually about a 4 to 6 week timeline, and the suit comes in after we do all that, and we do our first fitting. The bride's used to that, I think. So we have our first fitting, and from there, we'll start talking about other accessories. What ties do we want? What about shoes? What about belt? And those kinds of things.
What is a starting price for a custom 3-piece, and what is kind of the average you see people spend?
Starting price for a 3-piece coat, pant, vest from here is going to be about between $1,000 and $1,100. And there's always some things that can go from there. And then I think probably the average price for me is about $1,500. And that really usually just depends on what fabric do you want. Where's it milled? Where's it come from? And I have a multitude of options for that, of good options. Suit, just the coat and pant. If a guy wants that, I start at $850, and we can get much higher if they want. But I think for the most part, most people choose a path right around that $1,500 range.
And say they were renting from Geno's, the rental is about $250-ish now.
Right. I think it's all tax and all the things that come along with it. You're in that between $240, $250 range. And that's kind of the beauty of the two brands, as the synergy between Mac & Clay and Geno's has really, really become evident. And we can really help to coordinate the rest of the guys with what suit would look best with this from Geno's or tuxedo, and kind of what path that we can go to best accommodate the guys in the party.
And I'm not sure that I even mentioned this in the beginning. So the Mac & Clay store on Southland Drive is directly beside Geno's. And I did a podcast with Carrie several months ago, who is the store manager at this location. She's been with Geno's for probably about 25 years now. And I always tell people, I'm like, I want to be Carrie when I grow up. She always has it so together. She's so nice to everyone. And then you also have a brand new location on the Hamburg side of town. Share with folks a little bit about that location.
Yes, and Carrie is awesome. She's really helped me a lot in kind of learning this business from a child to now. So Geno's also has a location besides Southland Drive, has always for the past 20 years, in the French Quarter on Richmond Road. And we found an opportunity to move that to the street's called Cadentown Road. It's Old Todd's Road in Cadentown. It's the corner of Man o' War and Todd's Road / Liberty right there. And so we've moved the Geno's there, and because of what I just kind of mentioned, the synergy we were seeing between Mac & Clay and Geno's on the Southland, we have a wall between us there, which can be difficult going, and we're going back and forth a lot. So we combined them, and we've got one store. It's beautiful, really excited. It literally just opened weeks ago. I would call it soft open. We're functioning, we're running, but I think we're going to do a nice big grand opening celebration probably in August or first part of September.
Awesome. What are some trends that you are seeing right now in men's attire for fall and for 2025?
just some trendy colors out there where green's kind of been on the map for a while, but I feel like we're seeing a lot of it and not a lot of great options off the rack. So that's a great custom color. And I'm seeing hunter greens to sages. They turn out really pretty. Fall fabrics that people I think are kind of been as textured, maybe even a tweed or we'll call it Donegal for fall is a nice thing. And then kind of leaning into 25, I think a lot of earth tone, light beige, like, off-white, linen. Again, I think the texture and fabrics, some kind of provide a little depth is really kind of a trendy thing. So it's not just a solid, flat piece goods right now.
We've talked about the custom pieces, but you also have the storefronts, and the store is full of very nice clothes. You have suits already in here for people to purchase. You've got jeans, you've got polos, and I'm really big. The bride spends so much time and so much effort getting ready for rehearsal and the wedding day and the honeymoon. We want the same effort out of the grooms as well, so you can help them outfit for other events as well.
Absolutely. That's really Mac and Clay. Is my historic experience has been weddings, so that's been very seamless, but it's really any event, whether it's Keeneland, whether it's Derby, whether it's a wedding to attend, whether it's your own rehearsal. I love to talk to bride. What's the vibe of the rehearsal? How casual, how dressy is it going to be? And we can piece together things here. Sometimes people might do a custom sport coat to go along, but I have sport coats off the rack, suits off the rack, slacks, like you said, polos, anything to kind of piece whatever the vibe is.
And these are investments. These are pieces that you will be able to wear for decades, literally.
That's right. I love versatility. So I love to be able to help people. If you're going to invest in a piece like that, I want it to be something that, for your wedding, a one-off deal is okay. But I think a lot of times we want something that you can have future use for a lot. You can wear casually for a night out. It can be dressed up. I love that vibe.
So I know that I would say the majority of the people listening to this are going to be the guys, and they want a quick podcast. So I think we have touched on the main things. You said the 4 to 6 week mark is what you need to have a custom. It's always good to have a little bit more time built in there, but that's probably a good safe space to have. You mentioned having an appointment to get that done. And we have the location here on Southland. We have the new location. What are the hours for both of those locations?
Both are the same, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., closed on Sundays.
And you do have social media. I know you have Instagram, you have Facebook. So I will post links to those. And I know that you are constantly posting outfit inspirations on there. You're showing what new products you have. Is there anything else you would like to say to any of the guys listening about preparing for their wedding day when it comes to their attire?
I think it's exciting that men a lot of times are taking it a lot more serious, I think, than we did when I was going through this process. And I really, really enjoy it. I love getting to put an outfit for somebody's wedding together, and I take it serious. I have a lot of passion for it.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. To learn more about Mac and Clay, see examples of their custom suits, in-store inventory, schedule an appointment, or to visit their social media links, go to macandclay.com. That is MacandClay.com. For more information about Simply Love Studio or to schedule your wedding consultation, go to simplylovestudio.com.